All right, so welcome everyone. Thank you all for joining us for our Let's Take a Moment series. And tonight we are focused on mental wellness. And for those of you who don't know me, I am Kristen Feierabend, and I am part of our social and economic vitality team at Wake County. We're a partnership between Wake County Human Services and North Carolina Cooperative Extension. And shout out to Amanda Salami, who's here from our team, and also Vielka Gabrielle from our team. Hey, Vielka. She was really the catalyst for having these series, so thank you for being here. And then we also have Tamara Perkins, who's based in our Crosby office when we're there in person. And for those who aren't familiar, Social and Economic Vitality, or SEV as we call it, is a collaborative initiative to eliminate intergenerational poverty in Southeast Raleigh and the eastern part of Wake County. And we really try to make sure that our strategies are holistic, really focusing on every level from family to nonprofit to small businesses on up to communities, and really creating communities where everyone has an opportunity to thrive. So for tonight's agenda, I do have a few brief announcements that we're going to want to share. Then I'm going to pass it to Charisse Fullwood, who's going to talk about managing stress and anxiety. And then we have NC State's Community Counseling Education and Research Center to share some resources from their end. And then we'll close with the second half with Malikia Ian from Yoga for Us, leading us in a movement and mindfulness activity. So I think everyone's muted at this point. If you have questions during the session, feel free to type them in the chat box. At some point, we could also unmute you if you want to ask your question directly. And again, this session's being recorded so that other folks can view it later. So just a few of those announcements. If you or anyone that you know is in need of food at any point, there are a whole lot of resources happening across Wake County. I will send these slides out after the session so that you can access all of these links, but there's some great links up on Wake County's website with maps of where all the school meals are being offered, as well as pantries that are currently operating, when they're open, all of that good stuff. So please feel free to use that and or share it with folks who may need it. And then Wake County Family Services is currently operating remotely. So Tamara from our team is on the call tonight. But if you're having issues with finances, employment, education, your child's behavior, like basically anything's going awry in your life, Family Service may be able to help you get connected to some different supports and kind of help you get back on track. So the intake line is listed here. If you need to access that, again, we'll share it after the call. COVID-19 testing. Hopefully folks have seen some of this in the media and elsewhere, but there are some county testing sites that have opened up recently, as well as some partner testing sites. So we'll share these links in case you or someone you know is having symptoms and would like to go get tested. And then really importantly, I want to plug the census. If you haven't filled out your census form yet, I strongly recommend that you do that. You can do it online pretty quickly and easily. There's also a call-in option or a paper form that I think is going to be mailed out in the next few weeks, maybe. I'm not sure if those have gone out. But the census is really important because it guides where federal and state dollars are distributed. So if we undercount our population in any particular area, that means that area is likely to get fewer resources in the future. So important that we all complete our census and do it as accurately as we can so that we can get the resources we need in our community. This series, the Let's Take a Moment series, we have one more session on July 23rd on employment resources. I think we have someone from NC Works coming to talk to us, as well as someone from Wake Tech talking about some exciting apprenticeship opportunities and other employment opportunities through Wake Tech. So you can sign up for that session, and we also have all the past sessions that we've done are up online for you to watch if you're interested. And if you like these sessions, you may want to try life coaching. If you haven't already participated in one of our life coaching cohorts with Vielka Gabrielle, they're an awesome opportunity to join a cohort of other individuals who are focused on building a positive attitude and mindset, developing a life plan and some action steps to get toward those. So I've put Vielka's email up here, but Vielka, if you want to put that in the chat box in case anyone's interested, they can reach out to you. And I don't know if you want to say anything else about that, Vielka, at this point. You're flipping all over the place.
I'm trying to get this phone, and I apologize. So we are having, we're looking to have our next cohort starting in a few weeks. We'll be sending out information to everyone who's registered on these groups, and so we will have that out to you. This is actually an opportunity. We've been doing one-on-one coaching and some small group coaching to help our families move through and beyond COVID. So in the midst of COVID, we still have families who are purchasing homes. We have families who are getting married. We have family who is reunifying with their children. We have lots of success in spite of all that's happening around us. Life is moving forward. We had earlier this year, in the midst of COVID, we had individuals who signed up for the financial and credit repair, and that has been amazing. That is something that we will be bringing back for another session. We've had quite a few people say that they really enjoyed it. We are looking at bringing some other group sessions such as the home buyers, which we did, and out of that stemmed 17 people starting a group who has gone 18 people who have enrolled and started looking at becoming a first-time home buyer. These are folks who, some of them are part of our Middle Class Express, and many of them, this was the first time somebody invited them to come out and just hear. So the goals that we have set for our life coaching is you'll be able to come, and it'll be for 2 hours, 1 day a week, and via Zoom, and we will work on your goals. And regardless if your goal is to become a homeowner or start your own company, whatever your dreams are, that's part of your goals, and the steps are the exact same regardless of what the goal is. And it starts with your mindset. It starts with you believing that this is something that you're ready to do and that you want to do. So I look forward to speaking with you guys. I will be putting my information in the chat line, and we will be following up with each of you to let you know when our next session starts. Thanks.
Thank you, Vielka. And up here on the screen is my contact information and Amanda's. We can drop that in the chat box for you. But at this point, unless anyone has questions so far, I will pull up Charisse's PowerPoint. And Charisse Fullwood is a nurse. You can say that your exact title again, Charisse, but a nurse with Monarch Behavioral Health Urgent Care. So go for it.
All right, thanks, Kristen. So like Kristen said, my name is Charisse Fullwood, and I am a registered nurse. I'm currently working at Monarch Behavioral Health Urgent Care Clinic. And in the urgent care clinic, we see patients in the office who have are stressed or have mental challenges. So if we can have the next slide, that's just our introduction, just talking about the effects of stress on the body. And here we can see that these are some of the stressors that adults are having in 2020. In the first two pictures, we see pictures of people protesting, and then we see the picture of the coronavirus. And in the bottom two pictures, we see what our reaction commonly is to stress. Usually we at work and at school, or if we're having a significant life change or traumatic event in life, we may be stressed. This stress can affect our health, and so it's important to pay attention with how we're dealing with major and minor stressors and to know when to seek help. Racism is a chronic stressor that doesn't exist as a single event, but it also exists as a complex event that happens to African Americans. It can encompass prejudice, discrimination, and institutionalism, racism, and it has an impact on us daily. If we have the next slide. So here in this slide, we see a picture of the daily demands that we're all faced to meet. And it may commonly include our work performance, such as arriving on time, meeting deadlines at work or at school. And for some, it may include being a parent and preparation of meals, completing homework with children, or facing just the daily demands of being a parent. On the next slide, we're going to discuss the 2020 health stressors. So as of April 15, 2020, case data from the CD shows that COVID-19 cases where race was specified, Blacks who comprise 13.4% of the total population, African Americans are making up 30% of COVID-19 cases. And Latinos, who make up 18% of the population, may account for as much as 17% of COVID-19 cases. Now, we know that this is a constantly evolving situation with COVID-19, and we're seeing even a higher percentages of Latino Americans that are contracted COVID-19 as well. But we also find that hospitalization rates to COVID-19 are disproportionately affecting Blacks. And so as a result of COVID-19, many of the children are being affected, and they're lonely and they're isolated. And if we can have the next slide. So here in this PowerPoint here, we're seeing some of the challenges for school-age children. Some children are stressed because they're at home and they're isolated, and because of COVID-19, they're not having the interaction that they usually would have. Also in this picture on the right, with the little girl, we see that she may be experiencing some colorism or some racism in school, and children also have social media challenges where they may face bullying on social media. Children have to also deal with feeling different, or they may feel pressure to fit in into other societal norms. And children can later go on to suffer from serious mental illnesses in childhood and on into adulthood. If we can have the next slide. So I found this was a interesting graphic. It just shows how mental illness is rising among African-American young adults. And this slide, it shows that in a study by the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration, that out of 89,000 young adults in ages 18 to 25 years old, 58.3% are receiving no treatment for their mental illness. So that's a little more than half of the population of the 18 to 24-year-old age group. They're not receiving any care for their mental illness. In another study, it showed that ages 26 to 59, in a cohort of 285,000 participants, 50% will get no treated at all. Now, this includes all mental illnesses, and it's not inclusive to just one disease or one disorder. Okay, have the next slide. And then we have some older adult challenges. Older adults may have challenges in that they don't have the resources that they may need because of a lack of transportation or a lack of insurance, and some older adults don't have family to support them. Older adults may also deal with the stigma of having a decline in mental function in the African American community or communities of people of color. It's not necessarily seen as a good thing if you're having a decline in mental function. And so older adults may not be as likely to reach out and receive treatment. As the slide also states, African Americans are 2 to 3 times more likely to be diagnosed with dementia than white adults, and they're less likely to be informed about it. And older adults have also had to deal with challenges of racism, and they may have more of a tolerance to dealing with racism because they've dealt with it over a lifetime. They also may be less trusting of people of color because they are not used to dealing with providers of color. And in this PowerPoint here, we have basically just showing what happens when we are stressed. Anxiety is a normal response to events that happen to us daily. And while it is normal for us to react to any stimuli, chronic stress can lead to long-term damage. So as we see in this graphic here, it shows how when we're exposed to a mild stressor, our nervous system kicks in and we may have what's called a sympathetic stress response. And that's basically where your body decides it's either going to fight or you're going to have a flight reaction. And as we have that reaction, the purpose of it is so that our survival instincts can kick in. And once that stressor is gone, then the parasympathetic system kicks in and it tries to bring us back down to the baseline. If we can have the next slide. And in this slide, we can see some of the changes that happen to us over time when we have chronic stress. We may start developing problems with sleeping, problems with eating, having emotional distress, which leads to an increase in our hormones, increase of glucocorticoids, and cellular changes happen in the hippocampus of our brain. As those cellular changes happens, then we develop decreased attention and perception and short-term memory problems, and then we have problems with learning and finding words that we're trying to articulate. And at the bottom of the slide, we see some of the changes that may happen to us when we're stressed. We may have headaches, joint pain, chest pain. We may have stomach pain. We may be just irritated or irritable. We may be more restless. We have a lack of motivation. We may be angry or depressed or sad. And if we can have the next slide. So this is just basically a slide showing where the different parts of the brain are and how they may affect us. And what we see is that when we have chronic stress, it leads to these conditions: anxiety, stress, phobia, panic, and depression. And some of the symptoms for anxiety and depression may overlap, and they may present in each condition. Symptoms of general anxiety can include worry as well as heightened arousal, fatigue, problems concentrating, etc. On the left side of this slide, we have the amygdala, which is an almond-shaped organ that's in the brain, and it's located near the hippocampus. In the amygdala, it integrates sensory and cognitive information and determines whether or not we'll need that flight or fight response that we talked about earlier. When the responses are repetitive or chronic, it can trigger those changes on the right in those conditions. Chronic stress can also shrink the prefrontal cortex, or the area of the brain that's responsible for memory and learning. And so that's why we may have difficulty with memory and learning. It also can increase the size of the amygdala, which can cause us to develop post-traumatic stress disorder. That's why whenever patients come in and they need medication, much of the treatment is designed to target the neurotransmitters that the person may be lacking or the person may need. And here on this slide, we just have some statistics that basically just show that 1 in 3 African American adults who need mental health care, they may not receive it, and that African Americans are less likely to receive care. And they may even divert to the emergency room for treatment. And can we have the next slide? And in 2015, 86% of psychologists were white, 5% were Asian, 5% were Hispanic, and then even fewer for Black Americans. And if we can have the next slide. And as we brought out, there are some barriers to mental health for African Americans. There's a stigma associated with receiving psychiatric care and mental health, but we need to be well. And so that's where the behavioral health urgent care comes in. Whenever patients are not doing well, they can come in and they can receive treatment. We also have socioeconomic disparities. So a person's social status or the amount of financial resources they have, it may be a barrier and they may not be able to receive care or mental health treatment. Other barriers include faith and spirituality, and I put a question mark there because you typically wouldn't think of faith and spirituality as being a barrier. You would think it's a positive thing for a person, and it can be a positive. It can be positive for a person, but some people in the African American community may believe that all they need is faith and spirituality, and that they don't need outside help. And then we also have provider bias and inequality of care. And those, I think they're pretty self-explanatory. We may have a provider that just doesn't understand us, and so we don't receive the care that someone else may receive of a different nationality or race. If we can have the next slide. And so we're going to just talk about briefly some coping mechanisms and some coping strategies. So one of the things that I recommend is that we need to take time for ourselves and kind of identify things that are really stressing us out. And we want to take time aside for ourselves by minimizing distractions. And we can do that by listening to music. We can use aromatherapy. We can take 30 minutes each day to find an activity that we enjoy doing. And that may include exercise or massage. And I personally enjoy using essential oils and aromatherapy. Some people like incense, and you can also lower your lighting and just take time to practice mindfulness. Disney Zenimation, if you like Disney and have kids or just need some time to just relax and reflect, they have some cute little kind of like excerpts from the movie. You can watch those, and there's peaceful music behind the scenes from the movies. And the next slide. And another way we can take time to practice mindfulness is by meditation, by prayer, having faith, and believing. If we have religious beliefs, we can use those outlets as a way to manage our stress. And next slide. And these are just some applications that I found that you can look up into your and download onto your phone. Black Lotus is a meditation app, and it's just basically helps you to be more happy and mindful in your life, gives you reminders, helps you to reduce stress, worry, and increase focus, and helps us to stay calm and happy. And then we also have Liberate, and Liberate is also for Indigenous people and people of color. And so after we practice our mindfulness and meditate, we may find that we still do need to seek outside help. And another way we can do that is by searching for local support groups. And we can begin to identify positive and negative feelings within ourselves and kind of work on that. And yoga for us, she says she loves Liberate. So you guys check that out, you might like it. And then here are some other resources that we can use to help us find culturally competent care. NAMI has a helpline, and they're open on Monday through Friday from 10 to 6 p.m. NAMI is actually the National Alliance for Mental Illness, and so they provide a lot of educational resources and support for people that do have mental illness. And there is a link there to the help desk if you want to do a chat. There are also support groups that you can join, and you will be able to find those on NAMI. They also have reports, warning signs of mental health conditions on the NAMI website. And I included a link here for Psychology Today, which will help you to find therapists that are of African American descent and prescribers of color. They also have, it's a directory of providers that are African American. And to find culturally competent care, we want to make sure that we find someone that we're comfortable with. And we can do that by asking our friends and family members of providers that they possibly use. And we want to ask the provider that we find questions to be able to participate in our treatment plan. And we definitely want to be our own advocate and make sure that we're getting the care that we need to be healthy. And next slide. And here are some questions that I thought were very relevant as far as trying to help us find a provider that was relevant for us. These are some questions that you may want to ask when you do find someone that you think you want to continue therapy or psychiatric care with. You want to ask yourself, do you feel like your provider cares about you? Or do they care about your physical health and your mental health? And one of the most important aspects, do you feel like you can talk with your provider about things? Does your provider respect your beliefs? Do you feel comfortable sharing personal details? Another feedback I get here is ask if they've been trained in multicultural counseling and how they integrate in your work. Do you feel like that they can relate to you? So those are all questions that you want to think about whenever you find a provider. And the next slide is just additional links that I've included that can help you to find mental health care. We are available at the Behavioral Health Urgent Care Clinic if in times of crisis, if someone needs to come in and needs an assessment. And that's it.
Awesome. Thank you, Charisse. I want to open it up to see if folks have questions for Charisse. Again, we will share these slides afterwards, so all those resources and links, etc., we'll send out to all of you. But does anyone have a question? You can type it in the chat box, or you can unmute yourself. And I might also ask Helen and Mark, y'all are up next, but if you have anything to add based on what Charisse said, I know, Mark, you had a comment in the chat box, but anything you would add to her presentation on how to find a right provider or anything else on that?
I'll just say, my name is Mark Grimmett. Thank you, Charisse Fullwood, for your wonderful presentation. And I love I love a lot of things about it, but particularly at the end, asking us or empowering us to ask our provider questions. I think that's true for any healthcare provider, but certainly true for mental health professionals, because just like a lot of other things, fit is very, very important. And even in my own experience trying to find my own counselors, I have often found that some of them aren't very culturally competent, and that's bothered me, or they might not have the capacity to talk about the things that I want to talk about. And it's better to learn that in the first session, or even in a phone call with the provider. If you could, I normally email them or try to set up a short phone call to see if we're compatible, because I know I have certain expectations at the outset, instead of just going in and wasting my time and money.
I agree. I feel like as well for children that it's very important for children, African-American children, if they are engaged in mental health care or if they need a therapist, it's important for them to be able to have a provider that they feel comfortable with, because they're children and their experiences are different with them being African-American children.
Looks like Linda has her hand up. So Linda, I'm going to unmute you, or you have unmuted yourself. So go ahead and ask your question.
Okay. Hello, everyone. Thank you, Chris. That was wonderful information. I agree so much with the comments about helping, encouraging people to be free to say what it is that they're looking for. I know in my experience, looking for counseling and therapy, sometimes that was the strength that I was hoping to grow in, was knowing that what I had to say was important and that I could say it. And I've had some great connections and some not so great ones. And with children, I have adolescents that's very much dependent on me. And it's good to be able to model that for them. So my question is, like, how many sessions, if one of my teens are saying that they're not really engaging in a session or they're not feeling comfortable, I was just wondering what kind of question could I ask them, or when do you decide to say you need to make a change or stop?
If you feel like your child is not opening up to that therapist, you may want to look for another provider, and it may happen, within a couple sessions. I would say no more than 5 sessions if you feel you're not improving or if they stop improving. And you could also have a conversation with the therapist and see if it's something on the therapist end they think is going on, other than just that they're not meshing well or they're not clicking in terms of the child and the provider.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Linda. The question from Mindy: how is therapy being done in the midst of COVID-19? If Charisse, you want to talk about that, and also Helen or Mark, if you want to kind of talk about what different modes might be happening.
So because of the COVID-19, we've had to kind of alter the way we are seeing patients. I know in the urgent care, when patients come in, I will do like I'm in the building, but I'll do a telehealth triage with them, and all of the providers in the building are doing it the same way as well. In the outpatient clinic, they're using DoxyMe, which is, they can use your own smartphone to talk to the provider, and it may be a combination of a video visit or a phone visit. So especially with the COVID-19 and some of the restrictions that the government had are being loosened. So it's a lot easier actually to access care now because of COVID-19.
Helen, you want to weigh in?
Yeah, hey, I'm Helen Lupton-Smith, and I have been working with Kristen and Verna, and co-direct with Mark CSERC that will tell you more about, and Mark, you can chime in on that. But yeah, like Charisse, we have also changed our services and counseling sessions also to telehealth, which means either on the computer or through kind of a private Zoom way of doing it, or also phone access. So we have also tried to make it as accessible as possible, and some people are finding it even more accessible than the traditional face-to-face way. But Mark, why don't you comment more if you'd like on any other thoughts on that?
I'm gonna start pulling up your flyer, Mark. And before y'all talk about CSERC, just one other question. For anyone that's used the Black Lotus or Liberate app, someone was asking if you could share any pros or cons about either of those.
I myself have not used it. But I do recommend it if you feel like that you need something to kind of help you to take those moments, take the time to take those moments for yourself. However, I feel like you need to make sure you're mentally well, you have to, put forth the effort, whether it's through an app or therapy. And so I do recommend it if you feel like you need something that's going to help you to stay well.
I've not used Black Lotus, but I do use Liberate. I've actually used a couple of different meditation apps. What I like about it is centered in topics and mindfulness in Blackness and people of color. So it comes from, I don't want to say a racial type of point of view, but it takes into account those different types of stressors that Charisse was mentioning that are unique to people of color, in terms of working through that in a mindful way. So I find that some of the other mindfulness or meditation apps that I use don't consider that in any way, shape, or form. And sometimes we need to hear that. And also they allow different professionals to contribute to the app, so you're able to decide which voice resonates the most with you, instead of just having to deal with like one particular professional.
Awesome. So thank you for that, Malika. And we're excited to get to you in just a little bit. Before that, I want to introduce Mark Grimmett and Helen Lupton-Smith from NC State, who you've already heard from just a little bit, to talk about their work. And there were a couple questions from Shamil and Linda in the chat box that actually, hopefully, Mark and Helen, you can touch on after you talk about CSIRC.
Thank you, Kristen. First, I want to say my name is Mark Grimmett, and I always feel like it's important to tell you a bit about who I am before we get into the work. I'm 47 years old. I'm originally from Tuskegee, Alabama, and I grew up in a time when crack cocaine was just coming on the scene and saw how that impacted my community. My mother, like Charisse, now she's a retired registered nurse, but she worked her full career at the VA in the psychiatric department. And so that was my first exposure to a mental health professional. And I had family members who dealt with mental illness. So I have 2 children. One goes to Hunter, and the other will be starting Ligon in some capacity when Wake County figures that out. And what brings me here is that I am a professor at NC State in the counselor education program, where we train master's level counselors and doctoral level counselor educators. I'm also a licensed psychologist. And CSIRC is a dream of mine. CSIRC is an acronym for the Community Counseling Education and Research Center, where I am a co-director with my friend and colleague, Helen. And the whole purpose of CSIRC is to address the problem of accessibility to high quality healthcare services. In this case, we're talking about mental health care, which is holistic. And so what we do at CSIRC is provide mental health and career counseling services for holistic wellness, knowing that like mental health is just a part of total health. And our students, our master's students predominantly, but sometimes our doctoral students, provide counseling to our clients. And I'm sorry, my children are screaming in the background, so I'm a little bit distracted. But our model, we have our very capable master's students and doctoral students who provide counseling services to members of the community. And what we're trying to do is basically develop a model so that everyone in the world has access to healthcare. But our primary partnership right now is with the Social and Economic Vitality Program and the Crosby Garfield Center. So we serve clients who are ages 14 and older, work with couples and families as well. And we respect and support people of diverse cultures and personal identities. And our counseling services are not free. To look at the one of the questions, I would never phrase it that way, because we see our clients as our partners. So if you come in, we have a sliding scale that starts at $0 and it goes up to $30 based on the client's self-reported income. But even the people who aren't paying financially, they help us a lot because they're helping us to refine our counseling model, and they're helping us train our students. They're helping us with our research. So we very much see that as having really more value than a financial payment, even though we need those as well. Let's see. The final kind of details I want to share with you all is how you can contact us. So if you have access to the internet, we have a website, and that's on the flyer that Kristen is showing. You can also call us, or you can email us. If you go to our website, there's a very simple form to fill out where you provide your contact information. There's also a place to check if you were referred by the Social and Economic Vitality Program or the Crosby Garfield Center. And it also is a place to indicate whether or not you have insurance. And the reason that we have those different check boxes is because we prioritize people who do not have insurance, and we prioritize people who are affiliated with the Social and Economic Vitality Program and the Crosby Garfield Center. Our response time is typically 48 hours. And what that means is, one of the ways we break down the barriers that Charisse was talking about is that we take the responsibility for making sure people get connected with us once we have your contact information. Everything's explained in detail. We do things with a lot of love. And if you're interested in our services, our fall services won't begin until August the 17th. And we are doing distance counseling, which means if you have access to a computer that has a camera and you have a high-speed internet connection, we could do it just like we're doing now. If you don't have those resources, or a person doesn't have those resources, we can also do it by phone. And I think, Kristen, I'll pause right now and see if Helen wants to add anything, and I'll look at some of the questions.
Yeah, Helen, feel free to jump in. And if anyone else has questions, you can type them in the chat or raise your hand or unmute yourself.
Yeah, I think that Mark basically covered everything. I'm also a faculty member at NC State, but I also provide counseling in the summer. So we try to have a bridge in the summer for services as well, because we're fully operating in the fall and spring. But yeah, and this summer it's all been on telehealth, and we've made a good transition there. And I think we are getting responses that it's very accessible and people appreciate it, and the whole notion that we're also offering phone services as well. Yeah, I'm just wondering if people have questions as well. But I think people appreciate it because of, we don't take health insurance, and people aren't, they're not having to have kind of a label if that's not helpful. And so that's kind of a unique niche that a lot of places aren't able to provide. So it's pretty neat, the partnership we have. Yeah.
Thank you, Helen. That reminded me of a couple of things I want to emphasize in this. I think it related to Charisse's presentation as well. Like, I think my understanding was, Charisse, they have a focus on people in crisis, and it might be broader than that, but we have almost the opposite focus. So our goal is prevention and working with people to prevent crises. So like similar to healthy eating and exercise, we think counseling is a way to remain healthy and well. So if people are a risk to themselves or others, and or actively suicidal or recently suicidal, that wouldn't be a good fit for us, even though, of course, our clients can ebb and flow into that area at times. But our goal is really to maintain people's health. And I think one of the stigmas about mental health and counseling, or a bit of misinformation, is that you only need to go if you are in crisis. We're certainly happy to have those services if that's needed. But the idea is, if I'm stressed about my job, or I just want to talk about my relationship with my partner or parenting, counseling is a good place to do that. And the difference between a great counselor and your best friend is that you don't have to listen to the counselor tell you about their life. You go in and you can just talk about yourself guilt-free for at least 50 minutes. And I think that makes us all healthy. The last thing I want to say, Kristen, is that some things that make our model really special is, one, we believe that healthcare is a human right for everyone, and not just any type of healthcare, but world-class healthcare. Two, we have a trauma-informed model, so we acknowledge that people experience traumas in different ways throughout their lives, and we approach everyone with the care and sensitivity just in case they have had that experience. Three, multiculturally and social justice counseling competence is important to us. That means, like, regardless of your personal identity, your cultural background, you're going to be treated with love and respect at our counseling center. And we want to be very accessible and affordable to everyone. We have a community engaged focus, and that's part of our partnership with Kristen and the SEV and Crosby Garfield Center, because we want to be centered in the community and focused on the community. And our students are brilliant, and they're loving, and they want to be there. And they also need to make a good grade. So they have extra motivation to do a good job, and they get supervised a lot. So that's all I have, Kristen. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. And thank you for making that distinction for what CSERC services are about. Charisse, did you want to add anything on that about the difference in services?
Yeah, so the urgent care, like he mentioned, it is more for mental health crises, but we do also have an outpatient clinic where it's for patients that need ongoing therapy and medication management as well.
Great. And I want to transition us in just a moment to Malikia, but wanted to come back to a couple of questions from Linda, and any of you could answer this. Any suggestions on how to ask to stay involved in care when teens reach 18 years? And how can parents not add to their off to college stress to teens?
I wanted to add to how to not add to the off to college stress, because that kind of fits well with my kids and their ages. And honestly, I get my own counseling for that. And so sometimes you can get counseling. It can be kind of coaching about how to deal with some parenting issues and deal with your own feelings when your child is growing up and moving on. And so I would definitely advise that as being very helpful. And when your child is under 18, and if they come, we usually will all meet together at first about what is needed and what the goals are, and then we work with your child. But and we can kind of help your child know how to communicate with you, and we can communicate generally, not specifics, but the relationship is kind of built at the beginning, so it's transparent and clear about what is happening. It doesn't feel like you're kind of losing something or losing connection, but you're kind of gaining because your child and family member are learning skills. And we really come from a, as Mark said, a wellness approach, not an illness approach, and in a strengths-based approach, as all within a kind of multicultural accessibility context. So I think that way it feels more approachable and not like something that's scary or like going to the doctor or removed. So those are just some kind of personal and initial thoughts with that question.
Thank you.
Charisse or Mark, want to add anything before we transition?
I will add it. The things do change a little bit when children become, 18, when they turn 18, because you may not be able to be as involved in their care if they don't want you to be involved in their care. And so that's where it kind of goes back into basically trying to, over time, build up that relationship with your children, and asking them to allow you to be part of their care. It may become a little difficult when they get older, just because they're young adults and they feel like they want to have that freedom and that independence. But just let your children know that you're there for them, and participate when they will let you participate.
Thank you. That's good. You heard me well. Thank you both. Thank you, everybody.
Yeah, thank you. Oh, Mark, were you going to add something?
No, I was just saying thank you. I appreciate Charisse and Helen said the same thing.
Yeah, 100%. Thank you three so much for sharing both knowledge and resources with us. Again, we'll email these out afterward. If folks really enjoyed this and want to see more of this, you can email me or Amanda and let us know, because we could definitely host more conversations like this. But at this point, I want to turn it over to Malikia Ian from Yoga for Us. I got to meet Malikia I guess a couple of years ago with our Southeast Raleigh Innovation Challenge, and just know that she is an awesome, awesome resource in the community. And I'm looking forward to our movement and mindfulness activity for tonight. So thanks, Malikia.
Not a problem. Happy to be here. Hi, everyone. Thank you, Mark. So I just wanted to add to what Charisse and Mark have already stated in terms of mental health. One, I wanted to point out that a lot of times mental health, like Mark said, we think of it as, or we approach it as a response to something. And yoga is typically thought of as an exercise or a physical activity. But I want for everyone to think of yoga, meditation, therapy, counseling as maintenance activities, and not to approach them as reactive, but as ongoing activities such as eating and drinking water and brushing our teeth, right? So just as important it is to go buy floss and things of that nature to maintain the health of your teeth, it is just as important to engage in wellness activities to maintain that wealth of your mind and your spirit. And another thing that I may have missed it, but I didn't hear Charisse mention in terms of activities, I want to just add sunshine and journaling as activities to regularly participate in addition to exercising and drinking water and speaking to someone and things of those nature. A lot of wellness activities don't cost you a dime. Planting a garden, whether it's in a backyard or in a windowsill, can be very therapeutic. Just the action of connecting to soil and growing something and watching it grow can be therapeutic. And so I just wanted to throw that out there so that everyone can walk away with a tool or a technique or at least a mindset reminder or shift that it's our responsibility to engage in our wellness on an ongoing and consistent basis, and not to wait until we need help, but to get help every day. And so that's going to be part, if we have time, I know we're running a little short, if we have time to get to our journal prompt, is help. So if you don't get to it, I want you to do it once the call is over, to really wrap our minds around what it means to ask for help, to give help, to seek help, and to receive help, so that we can open up our minds to the idea of getting it and giving it. Okay, so again, my name is Malikia. I am the owner and operator of Yoga for Us. I don't want you to move from where you are. We're going to stay in our chairs. I see everyone is very comfortable, and I didn't want you to have to drag out your mats and work up a sweat. So I just want to, I'm going to move back so you guys can see me. I've got 2 cameras. So let me make sure I'm centered well. You can see me on the side. Yes. And see me from the front. So from where you're sitting, I just want you to kind of get your thighs midway on your chair. This is a part of my seated yoga that I do before I let my feet touch the bed in the morning. I am over 40 and my body is not what it was in my 30s, my 20s, or my teens. And so I have taken it upon myself to pay attention to my body and to move it and stretch it and twist it before I let the soles of my feet bear the weight of my body for the rest of the day. So if you want to translate this and close your eyes and imagine that you're on the edge of your bed first thing in the morning, you did not hit the snooze button, but instead you threw your legs over the side and you sat there and you closed your eyes and you paid attention to your breath. And you inhale for 1, 2, 3. Exhale for 3, 2, 1. Inhale for 1, 2, 3. Exhale for 3, 2, 1. Inhale, 1, 2, 3, 4. Exhale for 4, 3, 2, 1. Inhale, 1, 2, 3, 4. Exhale for 4, 3, 2, 1. I want you to take control of your breath. Take it as deep or as shallow as you please. I want you to start from the top of your body. On your next inhale, let your head fall back like you're looking towards the ceiling. And on your exhale, bring your head up and down, tucking your chin to your chest. And I just want you to follow this breath, movement, connection. I want you to pay less attention to the rhythm of my voice and focus to the rhythm of your breath. So everyone may be going at their own pace. Tapping into that breath and body connection. Saying yes to whatever serves us. Saying yes to what we want to grow. Whatever seeds we have planted, we are watering them now with a very mindful, very bold, very conscious yes. On your next inhale, bring your head to neutral position and exhale to your right. Twisting your neck, inhaling to the left. Same body and breath connection there. This is a full and complete sentence in no. This is our practice of saying no with a period instead of no with a comma. Good. When you're done saying no to all the things that do not serve you in this life, bring your head to neutral. Let's engage our shoulders, inhaling them up. Just a gentle shrug and exhaling them down. Follow that path. Give me a few shoulder shrugs up and a few shoulder releases down as you inhale and exhale. And on your third shoulder shrug, I just want you to bring it back, down, and around. Inhaling it back, exhaling it forward. work those kinks out. For those of us that stare at our phone too long, for those of us that stare at a computer all day, reverse that rotation and reverse your breath. So you're going to inhale up and forward and exhale down and back. Good. On that next inhale, when your shoulders are up, leave them up nice and high. And then exhale with a small bend in your upper back. Just like a tuck of the chin, and allow your shoulders to slump. This is like the worst posture that you would get popped on the hand for if your grandmama was from Alabama. And lift, inhale, reaching your chest open, letting your shoulders attempt to touch each other in the back. Exhaling forward with a small bend and tuck up the chin. And inhale, up and back. So this movement is a bit more complex. You may need to take a double breath. That is perfectly fine. We're still on the side of the bed. We're using our snooze time to wake our body up. On that next exhale, I want you to lead with your belly towards your thigh. Let your chin be the last thing to fall. If you have to press back from your desk, do so you don't knock your head on the desk. And when you inhale, lead with your back rolling up vertebrae by vertebrae. Your head is the last thing to rise. And when it does, you just lean forward with your belly again as you exhale. Turning those stiff muscles into water. As they roll with each wave, with each breath. This time, roll up and add your arms reaching towards the ceiling. And as you roll down, reach them forward and let them collapse to the floor. You guys look beautiful. Roll down. We got a few more. We're really waking up our spine. On the next inhale, I want you to use your hands to caress every inch of your body as you come up, from your shins to your kneecaps, to your thighs, to your hips, to your side body, to your chest, to the sides of your neck, up to the sides of your face, all the way through the crown of your head, as you reach up towards the sky and lean forward with a deep exhale. Engage your skin as you roll up. Give thanks to each body part that your hands and fingers touch as they work, as they are intended today. Keep your hands up on your next inhale. Go ahead and finish out that exhale. I'll wait for you. Good. Find a bit more synchronization with us. And on the next inhale, rise towards the ceiling. And exhale, twist towards the right. Let your left hand reach outside of your right knee, excuse me. Inhale, lift your hands towards the sky. Exhale, twist in the opposite direction. And follow that motion with your breath. Twisting from your navel instead of your shoulders. So using that hand on the opposite knee or thigh, wherever you're reaching, to give you that gentle push before you turn your head towards the back. Good. Do that a couple more times, and then meet me front and center, hands on your knees. Everybody feel a little bit warmer? Right? Like we haven't even gotten out of the bed. We got a little sweat going on. That's good, right? So we're really ready to wake up now. So let's lift our right knee here. So we're seated. The knee's not going to go too far. Just bring your hands on the outside of that knee. Pull it up towards you for a hug. Good. And release it down. Take a deep breath and exhale, bringing that left knee up. Squeezing it towards our body. And release. Let's try our right knee again. Maybe we can grab that shin. No pressure. Stay where it feels good to you. Now I want you to release your grip and just allow that leg to straighten out. Let's see if you can wiggle the bottom of those feet before lowering down. We're engaging our core muscles. So this is a little bit of work. Lifting our left knee, giving it a squeeze, releasing that knee to stretch out that leg, holding it there, and releasing. Good. Now I want to do that one more time, and then we're going to stretch out our hips, big pull in. Release the leg, stretch it out. Take a deep breath. And release. Left knee. Hug that knee in. And release it, stretching out that leg. Taking a breath. And release. Good. So for this next part, you can sit a little further back in your chair and simply just bring your knee kind of like a crossover underneath your other leg. So you usually think we're going to cross over, but remember, this is first thing in the morning and nothing is awake. So we're going to start under to give ourselves a little bit of room. And all we want to do is inhale up and exhale forward. Holding over that bent leg for an outer hip stretch. Good. And roll up. Feel free to unmute yourself and tell me where you feel that stretch, if at all. And go for it again. Where are you feeling that, Mark?
In the knee that's bent, and in that thigh, that same thigh, outer part.
So it should be in that right there.
Yes.
Feel it in your knee. See if you can scoot a little further back and
I'm so inflexible.
separate that thigh from your calf just a little more. Give yourself a little bit more space.
Okay.
There aren't any muscles in our knees that stretch. So if you feel it in your knee, adjust yourself. Don't just push through it.
Okay, gotcha.
That's why I always ask that question. Now, if you guys get a good stretch on the hip right where you are, stay here. If you feel like, ooh, I feel it a little bit, can we go a little bit deeper? Go ahead and cross that right ankle above the knee. And here's a tip. When you're in the bed in the morning, what I like to do is turn around and put this bent leg on the bed and bend over. You want to talk about a stretch to change your life? Let's get 2 more of these. Whether you're under or over, it does not matter. And release. So this is essentially the same stretch that we used to do in gym class when you would lay on your back and you would put your ankle over your knee, and then you would thread your hand through the thigh and pull it towards you, and you'd be like, oh. This is the exact same thing, but you're using the gravity of your upper body to just lay there and do what? Breathe instead of struggle through it. So let's try the opposite leg. We're gonna start under. Take your inhale and lead yourself down. Think about belly to thigh first, chest to knee second, head hanging last. And lift. Good. Inhale your arms up. Interlace them, pressing your palms towards the ceiling. Reach them back behind you a little bit. And lower. and lift. So all of my over the knee people. Now, if you were a solely under the knee on the other leg, don't count the opposite leg out because our flexibility tends to vary from right side to left side. So give it a shot if you feel so inclined or not. Everybody ready? Inhale. Exhale. See, you can do this without even looking at me, right? You are following your breath. You know that when you exhale, you are becoming smaller, you are leaning forward, you are bending over, you are stretching and releasing as you exhale. And as you inhale up, you are recouping your strength through your breath and lowering back down as you exhale and get that stretch. Good job. Let me check my time. Okay. Okay, so I have just one or two feet stretch that I want to show you guys, feet stretches that I think are so important. I just want to make sure you can see me. So I'm going to highlight my back view. Can everyone see my feet from this view?
I can only see one view.
Okay. So you're going to make me do this, Mark. This is a recorded call, and you're going to make me do this. Okay. All right. I see what you're doing.
I appreciate you.
Just know that these are the realest feet you're going to see today. Okay? So as you're on the edge of your bed, before you ask your feet to walk you around all day with all of the weight that you have, let's give them a little bit of tender loving care. Most of us don't ever stretch out our feet on a regular basis. So here we go. Come to the edge of your seat, and all I want you to do is lift your right heel. Get that arch as high as you can. So you're really putting some flex into the tops of your toes. Good. Now I want you to take that foot, slide it back, and roll over the tops of your toes. Can everybody see that?
Yes.
Good. So we're all training to be in the ballet as we stretch our toes, and you feel that going all the way up the front of your foot, and maybe some of you, your shins and ankles, and roll them back. Good. Pressing into the floor. Good. Now release that and just circle and listen to that snap, crackle, and pop as you rotate your ankles from left to right and right to left. Good. Let's do our left foot. We're going to lift, slide your foot back, and lift our heel, pressing those toes into the floor. Roll them forward to stretch the front side of our foot. Breathe through that. That's probably the tightest part of our feet, because all day long it's doing this as we walk around, and rarely ever do we flex it back the other way like this. Roll it back for one more toe stretch. And release. Circle out your ankles, right to left, left to right, whichever works best. Okay. So now this, I'm sure, will be the viral video for Yoga for Us. With my unpolished toes circling everywhere. That's all right. Okay, so does everyone, it looks like we've got a few minutes. Toe stretch, was everything good? So I usually spend a good amount of time working on small muscles like wrists and ankles and feet and neck and shoulders, because we use so much of those muscles every day. And we think of stretching, we think of, oh, I'm gonna touch my toes and stretch out my hamstrings. I'm gonna reach to the back and stretch out my back, are really large muscles, but it's those little muscles that make a difference in how you move in your body. You know, if you never stretch your shoulders from age 25 to age 65, it makes a difference on how you can lift and get cans out of your pantry, right? So unmute yourselves and get something to write on, something to write with. We're going to take a moment and focus on the word help. So this is, it's probably backwards the way you see that. This is a prompt, a journal prompt, right? A lot of the journaling that I used to do, the journals come with questions. Mm-hmm. I tend not to like those types of journals because it leads my journal writing. I prefer a simple prompt because I'm not answering a specific question. I'm allowing my thought process in my mind to take that word and run with it in however it sees fit. So whatever comes to you in the next 3 minutes, when you hear the word help, I want you to write it down. And it doesn't even have to make sense. Just write it. Okay? Okay. All right, we'll stop there. So I'm not going to ask anyone to read unless you volunteer. I do this after I do my yoga practice. So what a lot of people don't understand about yoga is the word asana is the movement part of yoga. Asana literally means seat, to sit. And so the whole point of doing all the movement, the sweating, the stretching, the strength training is so that when it's time to sit and be still, you're not fidgety, you're not preoccupied with outside stimuli. You can actually burn all the excess energy in your body so that you can focus on the connection between your mind and your spirit. And so a lot of times when I was trying to meditate, when I started yoga, it felt impossible. And so I picked up the practice of journaling because it was a way for me to meditate on paper. It's been a way for me to have something for my body to do while looking into what was going on in my mind. And so that has allowed me to see my mindset, to see my thought process. I've revealed that I'm a bit of a comedian. I curse a lot. I had a strong attachment to negative words such as I can't, I won't, I don't, no. I had a strong attachment to the future. I will, once this happens, I can, after I do this, I would. And so all of those revelations have really helped me to change how I walk through life and how I parent. And like Charisse alluded to earlier, you know, the kids are feeling this. They really are feeling this. My daughter, she's 7. We're proud of her. She wrote an essay and she's going to be published through this essay apparently. But as I read the essay that she wrote, what stuck out to me is how many times she said, I'm sad. At 7. Now, the yoga mom in me said, oh, I'm so glad she can articulate her emotions in such a way. But the mom in me was like, oh, she wears a smile all day, but my baby's still sad because she misses her friends. So if that's 7 years of life, I can imagine those of us who have lived much longer, how much of an impact all of this has been. So I'll read mine just to give you an insight. I mean, this is what, 2-3 minutes? Help. 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 Help who? Help me or help you? I help myself to whatever I need and some of what I want. Do I need help or do I want help? If help came to me, what would it look like? What would it do? How can I ask for something if I cannot articulate it? Does it smell like money? How much? A cool million or just enough to be debt free? Is it a hug or a someone to wash them damn dishes and fold them clothes? Yes, Lord, help. So apparently I need somebody to come wash my dishes and fold my clothes. Yeah. That's the help I need. And ironically enough, I sent my best friend a text today asking her for a recommendation for a housekeeper because I can't. This is the cleanest, this is my sanctuary and it's the cleanest room in my house because no one's allowed in here except for me. But that's what I want to leave you guys with. A tool, because wasn't really a full practice for you to have enough burnt energy to sit and meditate. So in cases like this where you just have time enough to do a little bit, this works wonders. Any questions for me? Oh, I'm sorry to hear that, Mark. Yeah, they're feeling it.
Mm-hmm.
You gotta just talk to them about it and hug them and kiss them and take them out in the sun and try to keep them safe.
Oh, thank you.
This was really good, Kristen. Team, this was a great exercise for us. I'm flipping the camera around real quick. I want you to see, as soon as I get my camera to do it, it ain't gonna do it. But I wanted you to see my mom. She's 84 years old, and she was over here doing the stretches better than I could.
Yes.
I enjoyed very much, especially the one to bring back and lean back. That helped me with my breathing exercise. And lift up your hand, bring it down.
Yes, Mom. I love it. I love it.
Hey, Miss Jackie.
Is it, how do you pronounce your name? Is it
This is Bielka Maria.
Bielka? Listen, I will tell you that one of the biggest compliments to me is when people allow me to share space with their mothers or their children, because I know those are like the people that we just love so much. And so when people allow me to work with their children and their mamas, thank you.
Now I'm laughing because Kristen knows. So a lot of folks were, and we got a few people that I'm glad we are recording that could not make it tonight. And you know, having the recordings help a lot of our families who are thankfully are working or for various reasons. I had one young lady, she just couldn't get anybody to watch the kids. And I said, well, why did you have to watch the kids? This would have been a perfect opportunity for them to sit, learn, and experience. So we're going to keep pressing for our families to be engaged in these activities. I had to bounce between sitting and listening and getting a chance to enjoy and relax, and then having another Zoom, and I had to tell them, listen, I got to get back to this because their Zoom was making me tight and stressed, and it was causing me anxiety. So I felt more gray popping in, and so just having that opportunity for us to come back here and close out is really important. So we look forward to doing this. I love the journaling part. That's something we have in our Middle Class Express, is helping folks to just realize, you know, just write it out. You get up in the middle of the night and you can't sleep, write why you can't sleep. And it's starting to help folks to just see in writing their thoughts. And so we've been putting our goals, our mindset, whatever it is that's coming up, and writing it. And then you'll be surprised how you go back years later and you find these old books. My daughter is 31 years old and she found some books that she had when she was younger journaling. And she started seeing how life repeated itself and some of her goods. When things weren't so great, that pattern was there. So it was helping her to cope also. So this was great. I can't wait for us to do this again.
Awesome. Malika, thank you so much for being here. As you can chat in the comments, all of it, this was really wonderful. And those of you on the line, if you did enjoy this, like, send us an email, or we're going to also send out a survey. Let us know, because we would love to bring Malika back and do more stuff like this. So thank you, everyone, for being here tonight, and enjoy feeling a little more relaxed and refreshed, and get some good sleep tonight.
Yes.
Malika, maybe you can do this and have Verna do this instead of our staff meetings. Maybe if you come, maybe then I'd be able to focus.
There you go. Yep. I don't know. You'll have to run that by Verna.
Look, can you do one for the dog? Because apparently he got anxiety also. I don't know what's going on. But I appreciate everybody. This has been a wonderful, wonderful session. Thank you. Oh yeah, my mom said that's her elephant in the back room, so she'll come home and get her private lessons. I appreciate that.
All right.
Drop her off. I can drop her off, y'all. I can drop her.
All right. Thank you all. Have a good night.
All right. Good night, guys.
Bye.
Good night.